It's video simulation, video rooms that you walk into, and they develop a quick shoot reflex. In New York City right now, the NYPD has a contract, and so does the LAPD, with Firearms Training Systems Incorporated, based in Suwanee, Georgia. Firearms Training Systems Incorporated not only trains the LAPD in marksmanship and the NYPD using operant condition, so on, but also trains the Marines, also trains militaries around the world. Firearms Training Systems, until recently, was headed up by Peter Marino, who comes out of the Central Intelligence Agency, the unit of the sector of Central Intelligence Agency, which was responsible for MK Ultra. So it's a psychological, molding psychologically the personnel who are involved in police agencies to develop quick shoot reflexes. So it's an attempt to socialize and to create a psychological mechanism within the soldiers so that they can more easily kill.
You're talking about switching off the thinking process.
Exactly.
Hitler talked a lot about that.
In fact, in New York City, and during the Diallo trial, because people ask why is it that the cops who who shot Diallo 41 times, how could they possibly have gotten off, right? If you examine the details of that trial, which I did, they got off, according to the judge and according to the various testimonies that were made, because they were not thinking when they did it. They were acting on their training. Firearms Training System, in their brochure, which the NYPD has a contract, in their brochure they say, Firearms Training System, having a contract with us, also gives you protection against liability against the use of excessive force. It says that in their brochure. We need to point out that there is an inherent contradiction between democracy and militarism. That militarism can only lead to an increase of violence all around. So that we need to be very specific about the ways in which we go about it. Some of the things we're doing in New York now is to identify, for instance, the contracts that the NYPD has with various so-called non-lethal contractors. Non-lethal weaponry is a booming industry right now. And whether it's rubber bullets, electromagnetic pulse weapons, which are being ready to be utilized on the streets right now, which heat skin to 130 degrees from 200 yards away. This weapon exists. They're ready to bring it out. We need to break that connection between the police and the military, which is what's happening now. Bush's people are ready to repeal Posse Comitatus, the Posse Comitatus Act, which is the criminal statute that delineates the police from the military. Literally this week, they're ready to repeal that.
Isn't that the key to what they're doing, is that you have the military-industrial complex that owns the dominant media.
Right.
And now they just want to go into business here domestically. I mean, we got Lockheed Martin running the red light cameras. We've got them involved putting in the surveillance cameras. We've got a host of other defense complex companies now involved with the prison industry at every level, integrating and funding the campaigns of politicians. Simply put, I would say we have a criminal syndicate, an enterprise that's been sophisticated enough to control the media and the government, and they're going to enslave almost every last one of us. They're never going to stop, because all their subdirectors are going to want to expand their, quote, productivity, and their productivity is tyranny and net destruction of humanity and creativity and family and community.
Well, once you create an equation between profit-making and armaments, between creating the weapons to suppress dissent in America, whether it's electromagnetic pulse weaponry or rubber bullets or gases or psychotronic gases, which are now being field tested. Once you create that symbiosis between profits and these weapons, that's a dangerous situation. This is what Eisenhower pointed out years ago in warning about this military-industrial complex. The thing we need to do as a citizenry is to do what we did back in the days of the Revolutionary War, is to identify militarism as the enemy and to go at it. Even whether it's locally, to disarm the SWATs. You know, we're talking about 1,000 SWAT units around the country right now. This is the people's money that's being put to use in buying this weaponry. The people need to get inside of these police stations and implode them from inside. They need to go in, identify ways in which they can disarm the police in these contexts, to recodify Posse Comitatus locally. In other words, to enforce the distinction between the military and the police. They need to propagandize the police.
So it goes back to education. We have to be force multipliers, special forces leaders for liberty and freedom in our communities, to go in and speak some sense and some dignity to these people. And I've done this, and I've preached this to my viewers and listeners. And we've seen change. Look at the 400-plus cities that have passed laws against the Patriot Act and Homeland Security. Look at the states that have done it. Look at the massive resistance that has formed against this, which is being ignored by the dominant press, and that's only fanning it. So just amazing points from Frank Morales. And to everybody out there, you are leaders. We can't do it all for you. And you have to educate yourself on these facts. You have to get out there and reach out to people and understand that history is repeating itself. And you probably don't have a choice. I mean, it's not much of a choice to be a slave or be free. I know you're going to want to stand up for liberty, for freedom, and get involved. And what Frank's talking about, these 1,000-plus SWAT teams, these multi-jurisdictional task forces, these are federally funded, federally controlled, and the media is there hyping it up like it's, you know, the new savior, you know, that only real men are members of this. They're selling us this. Certainly you can see the propaganda they're foisting upon us, their lies, and you may think, well, that's so much power, such a massive structure of media, we can't counter that. But they have to reapply their lies continually. We show somebody a lie once, we take the curtain away from their eyes once, they're out on their own forever going and researching and waking up others. And that's where our power lies. We have so much power, but it's up to you to become those leaders. Can you speak to those out there, Frank, about becoming leaders and getting involved?
Yeah, I would say that, you know, the pyramid, you know, the power is derived from the feds. It's a rampant executive, you know, mindlessness. The federal, you know, police and military entities looking to, you know, just completely erode our civil liberties on the base. But at the bottom of the pyramid, that's where the strength is. And as long as people become aware of these situations and begin to move in very kind of distinct and rational ways, and understand, for instance, what I was talking about, identifying within your local police departments ways in which you can demilitarize those police departments. There's no reason that you can't create a SWAT watch in your town. There's no reason that we can't begin to identify what contracts do these local police departments have with the companies that are selling them these weapons, and begin to get a hold of those funds. Defund these police institutions to the extent that they're you know, contracting with these groups and getting these weapons, which they're going to be using against you. We need to preempt their ability to preempt our right to protest, to have you know, have our grievances redressed, and you know, and in order to exercise our freedom. There is an inherent contradiction between democracy and militarism, and whether or not you know, we are left, right, or center, everyone should be concerned that the increasing level of violence on the grassroots, these rampant SWAT you know, units around the country, the ways in which Posse Comitatus Act, which you know, denies the military to enforce laws domestically, is being eroded and it is threatening to be repealed right now. These are things that we can organize campaigns around. So I would suggest that people just get educated around these issues and take hope and fight back.
You're about to see some really important clips, sections of a speech that Colonel Craig Roberts gave in Kansas City at a presentation I was putting on in 2003. Colonel Craig Roberts was a highly decorated Marine Corps sniper in Vietnam and subsequently wrote a best-selling book, One Shot, One Kill, detailing what happened there. Later in life, he became a member of Army intelligence. He also worked as a detective on the Tulsa, Oklahoma Police Department and worked the Oklahoma City bombing case. Colonel Roberts is an expert on the New World Order, and his insights give us a view into the mind of the globalist thinkers and to many aspects of the crimes they've committed. Here's Colonel Roberts.
Where are we at now? The final target is the American people. And who benefits? On the Hegelian principle, remember, create a fear of attack, pass a stronger anti-terrorism bill every time. Now, the way it works out, the difference between communism and Fabian socialism is communism says, kick in the door, shove a gun in their face, and tell them, be a communist or die. Real quick. Fabian socialism says, knock on the door and put one foot in the living room, talk your way into putting the second foot in the living room until you own the whole house. You do it by legislating your way there a little bit at a time. It's called the frog in the pot. It's called incrementalism. It's called the inchworm effect, where the inchworm feels out, it feels resistance, it backs up and moves around the object. Incrementalism is, I come to you and I say, I want to take all of your house.